Welcome back to Privacy Professional Training. I'm Fumi. So today's video, we're going to be talking about why data protection is a field you want to join in 2026. I just want to give you a couple talking points, and then I'm also going to talk about my experience in this field over the last 6 years. So without further ado, if I'm looking down, I've made a couple notes so that I can gather my thoughts and portray them to you in a simple manner. In addition to that, I will leave links to all my sources in the description below. So the first thing I want to talk about is why data protection is so great. So the first thing I want to talk about is growth in the market. Now, I have some statistics that I'm going to check up now, but ultimately, if you're looking to join the data protection space, there is a lot of growth, and I'll tell you why I know there's a lot of growth. Since 2018, there have been 21 US states that have enacted their own data protection laws. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that these states have specific legislation that didn't exist in the past that protect the rights and interests of individuals as it relates to their personal data. Now, what does that translate to market-wise? It basically means that there's going to be a lot of organizations that are now having to adhere to additional regulations. And what that means market-wise is that there's going to be a lot of companies that are looking to hire or get consultants in the data protection space to help them adhere to the data protection laws. Now, I found some statistics online, and I'm just going to go through those. So, according to Global Growth Insights, the global data privacy consulting services market grew from $2.44 billion in 2023 and is forecasted to reach $16.8 billion in 2032. So just a couple years ago, it was 2 billion, and it's looking like it's going to 8x the amount that people are putting towards data protection. The second thing I want to talk about is salaries. Some of the salaries that I found, apparently the median base salaries for privacy professionals surged 7% since 2017, from $115,000 to $123,000, and this is up 11% since 2015. Now, chief privacy officers saw the largest gains, from $139,000 in 2015 to $200,000 in 2019. So I just want to give a bit of my own insight into this. When I first became a lawyer, this was when I was not practicing in the data protection space, my salary was $67,000 for the first year I was a lawyer. When I transferred into the data protection space, the first salary that I got was $80,000. Now, that's a $13,000 jump, but what I want to make note of is I didn't need my law degree for the position that I had. What I needed was the certification. And this is why I started privacy professional training. One, because I don't think that a lot of people know about the space. It's very new and it's constantly evolving. And what that translates to into the market space is there are going to be more and more jobs created to accommodate for all the new legislation that's coming into effect. Now, I've only spoken about the US market because that's where I practice as an attorney. But if you're in a different geography, and I see that there are a lot of people in the European Union that are looking to get into this space, the GDPR, which is the European Union privacy legislation, it's continued to evolve, and we can see more and more recommendations coming out from different regulatory bodies about the evolution of some of the terminology in the GDPR. Another thing that I wanted to talk about regarding data protection is the nuances to the law, and the advent of artificial intelligence is going to make it more and more important for organizations to dedicate their energies and efforts into their data protection program. So what do I mean by this? How we as privacy professionals do our work is we build and optimize privacy programs for clients. Now, it may be that certain organizations already have a privacy program, but with artificial intelligence growing more and more prominent in different organizations, there's an overlap between AI and data protection, because the inputs and outputs that you can put into certain models is going to influence how organizations can use artificial intelligence and in which geographies and what legal obligations they are then going to have. So as more and more companies roll out artificial intelligence, there's going to be more and more growth in the data protection space for more professionals. And we can already see the amount of money based on the statistics that I gave you earlier, that the salaries are going to continue to go up. and I talked about my own experience, how I made the jump from 67,000 to 80,000 a number of years ago without needing to have a law license. This was just a data privacy analyst role, and all I needed was the one cert that I had at the time, which was the CIPP-US. Now, if you are thinking about joining the data protection space, I've created a number of resources to help you with taking your examinations. If you're interested in any of those resources, you can look in the description below. I'll also leave resources that I personally used. So I actually used other resources before I started creating my own to help me with passing my examinations. So I'll leave those in the description below if you want to take a look at them. And I will say that the data protection space is really excellent. Another point that I want to mention in this discussion is the fact that a lot of the data protection roles are remote. So if you're looking for remote work and you want flexibility in your day-to-day life, data protection is great because you don't need to be in an office to build privacy programs. That's what we do as privacy professionals. We build privacy programs, we optimize privacy programs, we provide advisory on how privacy works in a business context. Now, one of the questions I always ask all of my clients is, the first question I ask them is, does your business have customers? If they say yes, which 100% of the time they do say yes, I automatically know that they're processing personal data. Every business processes personal data, and the thresholds in the United States are kind of low. So the liability and legal obligations for businesses are continuing to grow, and grow. And just in addition to any other law, data privacy laws exist, particularly in 21 states in the United States. So that already tells me that companies are going to see a demand in needing a privacy professional in different types of capacities, right? There are data privacy professionals that work on a contractual basis because the privacy program may not need somebody 40 hours a week. So what they do is they start a consulting practice and then they provide their services to different clients. Then you have some privacy specialists that are in-house. They work a regular 40-hour week and they provide ongoing advice to the client that they provide services to. And then you get like fractional privacy officers, you get data protection officers. There's so many roles that you can find yourself depending on your skill set and what you enjoy in terms of the privacy program as a whole. Really hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely think that the data protection space is growing, and I think it's really imperative for you to set yourself up for success by taking the certifications, because it really does lead a roadmap into getting that first role, which is so important. If you are looking for any insights about data privacy, you can leave a comment below. I will definitely answer it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in another one.